you, Madam Chair.
Thank you very much. Senator Grassley.
First of all, I want to congratulate you on the announcements that you made about rules beefing up the Packages and Stockyards Act. I know that you're committed to that, the use of that act and the enforcement of that act. The first thing that I'm going to ask you about is pretty simple, whether or not what I'm going to describe to you was the USDA consulted in regard to this. 2 weeks ago, the Solicitor General filed a brief of whether or not the Supreme Court should take a case involving widely used pesticide. In Iowa, we call it Roundup, but the big classification is glyphosate. In that brief, the Solicitor General flipped the government's long-held position that's been the position of the law since 1972, that FIFRA preempts state law, and then the Solicitor General argued even against the EPA authority that the law requires. Were you consulted on that in any way?
Senator, we weren't. We continue to work with the EPA in terms of crop protection programs or products in an effort to try to make sure that farmers and ranchers have what they need.
Yeah, and I think it's clear in the law that the EPA has this sole authority, and I think it's going to be a problem if the federal government or if the Supreme Court would not take this case because state law is trying to go beyond what the FIFRA law allows. Since let's just suppose that that they would take this case and they'd somehow say that this California law is a legitimate law. Is the USDA doing any analysis that removing these products like Roundup from the marketplace would do to grain, U.S. grain production? Because, you know, this seems to me that this has a big thing to do with the productivity of our American agriculture.
Senator, I'm not sure that I know the answer to that question. I'm more than happy to go back and ask our folks if they are in the process of reviewing that. We've obviously had a lot on our plate recently with global food security concerns, and that's been my focus. But I'd be more than happy to check with our folks and see whether or not they've done that. And depending upon the outcome of the case and depending upon the nature of the decision that may be forthcoming, we'll take a look at it.
I'd like to put in the record, Madam Chairman, a letter I wrote to the President on that subject.
Without objection.
Let me see. The next one is, have you, because of this possibility that we're going to run short of grain worldwide, probably not in the United States, but worldwide, and increased U.S. production would have something to do with the shortage, mostly caused now because of Putin's invasion of Ukraine. Has the USA discussed opening up the conservation reserve program so that farmers can plant on those acres under these conditions that we have now?
Well, first of all, Senator, we announced the fact that in terms of the general sign-up, approximately a little over 1 million acres that was in the program is coming out of the program. So that 1 million acres is going to be available. Secondly, we announced an effort to try to encourage those whose acres are coming out of the program to be able to access their fields more quickly. As you know, they cannot, based on the rules, go into the fields and take active activities prior to October 1st. Well, we're basically suggesting that they can now voluntarily terminate without penalty for those roles that are now coming, or those acres that are now coming out of the program, so that they'd be in a position to do work now on that land, to either prepare it for a crop or to potentially even think about other crops that could be grown during the course of the winter. So we have looked for ways in which we can provide help and assistance.
My time's out. I may submit some questions for answer in writing on other subjects. Thank you, Madam Chairman.
Thank you very much. Senator Lujan and then Senator Marshall.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair and Ranking Member. Secretary Vilsack, good to see you, sir. As you know, New Mexico is currently facing the largest fire in our state's history, having now burned over 311,000 acres and directly impacting farmers, ranchers, families, and rural communities.